160 slides. Well, the latest challenge I had from a client was to convert over 160 photographic slides from the 1970s and 80s and then turn them into digital files. So how can I do that? Right, so 1, I'm going to need a light source. 2, I'm going to need some sort of box to contain that light. And then 3, I'm going to need a camera. But before I go any further, the inspiration behind this video came from the king of cardboard from Oslo, Norway, Andre Sjoberg, and I hope I've pronounced his name correctly. I responded to one of his videos with a comment, and if he hadn't actually replied back, I would never have done this video. So it's his fault. Check out the link to his channel in the description and go over to his channel and give him a subscribe. Go and check out his videos. They're really amazing, good energy, really good vibes. Right then, we're going to need some tools to make this happen. So we're going to need a Stanley knife, but I'm also going to use this scalpel for final cutting. Also going to need a tape measure, which I've got just here. I may even use this square, which is quite useful. I'm also going to need a nice big thick roll of masking tape. For the light source, I'm going to use this old newer LED light, which is from my streaming setup, which I used to use for game streaming. And I'll use various brackets I've got laying around the studio to put this light into the position I need. Box, standard box. Finally, the camera. This is the most important part of the puzzle. And we're going to use the iPhone 13 Pro Max, which has got an amazing set of cameras on the back of it. Most importantly, the reason for using this camera is that this has a macro lens. So one of these lenses is a macro lens, which means you can get really close up to what you're taking a picture of. Also going to need some standard white paper. I've cheated a little bit. I've got a little bit of thicker paper and then a few bits of like 80-90 gram paper. Also realized quite quickly with paper, using this LED lamp, I can't just put the LED lamp directly below the piece of paper for it to come through and use as a diffusion. Because this LED has, I don't know if you can't really see it, but it's got really, really bright little pinpoint LEDs within it. And when this is underneath the paper as diffusion, they really are bright and you can see it through the slide. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to create the box as almost like a collection item. So we're going to shine all the light into the box, and using the paper, we're going to put the paper all around the inside so it all deflects off the paper to give a nice bright glow. So without any further ado, let's get down there and start building this thing. First of all, here's my box, standard box. We're going to take one of these flaps off first of all. Probably save that for something else. The idea is we're going to have it open like this. That'll be closed up, and the light is going to shine into the box like that. So now we've got an area where the light can sit into the box. So this is the tripod I'm going to use for the light. So there we go. So that's the angle of light I'm going to need. It's still not quite right. What I may do is I might take a bit out the bottom. So there we go, that looks pretty good. I'm just going to try it out with a bit of tape. The old can't find the end of the tape routine. And that seems to be pretty good. So that's shining directly in the box now. So before we seal all this up with tape, I'm just going to undo this bit, keep that tape for a little bit later, and we are going to create the hole for the slide. The actual full size of the slide is the same throughout, no matter how big the picture is. So the slide is 50 millimeters by 50 millimeters. It just means that we need to make the hole slightly smaller, so probably I'd say 45 by 45 millimeters, just so you end up with a lip around the outside that the slide can sit on top of. They're slightly different picture sizes, but the actual slides themselves are the same size. Going to test the slide on the top, make sure it doesn't fall through. There we go, so it's perfect. First of all, I've got my piece of thicker paper, which I'm going to put right to the back and curve it round. There we go, so that gives us the backdrop for our paper. The other two pieces I'm just going to put on the bottom and just lay there. They don't need to go anywhere, just so that they cover the bottom. Right, this can then be sealed up. Right, so the top. So we don't want to be popping our slides on there and losing them down the hole. And these bits of cardboard we used earlier, we're going to make a little frame. So that's how it should work. So bring that a bit closer to the camera so you can see that this slides nicely into the little area I've created, like so. Perfect. So that means each slide is going to slide in there, and also there's going to be enough space to give enough light through there. Right, on to the next bit. So here we have it, the finished article, the box with the light inside, and you can see how bright it is in there, so bright. But also you can see how it works with the slide on the top. So one of the things which I found is really helpful is that this has a remote control, so I literally put the remote control down next to it, turn it off with that, and I can also turn it on with the remote control. I can work with the brightness with the remote control as well, so I can take the brightness down, I can bring the brightness up. And that's just because I've used this sort of light. So with the camera, you can see we can go down to the picture, all the way down. Some people actually put the phone in some sort of cradle or mount it, but you can see how well it picks up that image. There's a little bit of a few things we probably need to just adjust, because I'm getting a few remnants underneath. But you can see by using the macro you can get right in there and take a picture of that. Also, one thing which is really useful with the iPhone is you can click on the exposure, and you can actually adjust the exposure. So if you've got really whited out pictures, and some of these old pictures can be really well overexposed, you can actually reduce the exposure. Also, going from the overhead camera, you can see I can even reduce the light that's coming through in the background. So if it's really overexposed, I can reduce the light which is actually shining through the slide, which is really beneficial. But this is only with this setup. I mean, if you have another sort of light, you might not have that control, but I think this is amazing. Personally, I prefer to just use this by hand. I'm not really one of those that wants to have equipment to hold the camera, so I'm quite happy to do that. Take the picture and it's there ready and waiting in my in my images, and I can zoom into it and see. I can zoom into it, see what's going on in it, and it's a really, really amazing, good quality picture just from that slide. It's really amazing quality. So the last thing to do with this is to take it into a image manipulation program. I personally use Photoshop, and there what we're going to do is we're going to crop the area that we've taken a picture of, and then we're going to flip the image so it's the correct way up, and possibly use some very, very light image color correction. A lot of these images from the 70s and 80s, so the color's going to be a little bit off. I did have a few of these slides in the packs, and they were orange, so orange, and I had to do some really good color correction on those. But yeah, it's down to how well you can manipulate imagery and how well you know how to use those programs. But yeah, what do you think? I hope you found this useful. I hope this will help you if you've got a load of slides that you want to scan. At some point, I'm going to go around the studio and show you what's in here and what we've got set up. Let me know in the comments what you think. Is it useful? I literally spent pretty much hardly any money on this. Already had the masking tape, already had the box from a parcel over Christmas. So yeah, it didn't cost me a thing really. Already had the kit floating around the house and in the studio. But yeah, it's been an interesting project, and as I say, I don't tend to say no to these sorts of things. There's been a few projects which have been very, very interesting, and I've just got on with them, just had a go, see what I can figure out, see what I can actually put together. Feel free to go and check out some of my other videos. Just here there should be a link to my creative ponderings, and just here there should be a link to my last video. Please give this video a thumbs up to tell me that you liked it. Also, if you've got any comments, put them in the comments section. If you don't have a comment, just put an emoji or something in there just for engagement.